Hey everyone, welcome to Repeater. It is your favorite podcast where we talk to people about songs that they love, songs that are important to them, etc., etc. My name is Evan Ford Barden, and hosting with me, of course, is Pat Cartelli. Pat, what's up?
Oh, just sitting here ready to talk on everybody's favorite podcast. We're really humbled by your choice.
Yeah. I don't want to put that on everybody, but I do assume that after you listen to this, it's going to be your number one podcast and you're going to be 100% in love with it. Maybe that's a little presumptuous, but that's how we like to operate here.
Positivity.
Positivity. Yes. And speaking of positivity, let's welcome our guest to the show, Alex Song-Xia. Alex, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you both?
I'm good. I'm honestly a little sleepy. I got my second dose of the vax on Friday and was out of it yesterday, but today I'm feeling better and just a little I don't know. I'm not usually one to get super tired midday, but I took a 15-minute nap right before this. I was just out of it, but otherwise
a
good.
Little power nap there.
Yeah, exactly. One of those ones where you don't really fall asleep, but you do dream, which is kind of like a mind. It's a very weird space to be in where you know that you're not fully asleep. You can hear stuff that's happening in the apartment, but you are also floating or something. I don't really know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Glad you went for a trip.
Do you remember your dream?
No, I don't. I just know that I think I was it was one of those ones where you're just having a lot of theoretical conversations, but I don't remember what they were about. I was probably just
that's funny.
Probably talking to my girlfriend who was 3 rooms away, but not actually talking to her, that kind of thing. Yeah. Pat, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I had a cup of tea before this, so I'm nice and awake.
Hell
feeling good.
We love it. We love it. Alex, what's in the mug? What do you got going on? Alex has a mug on their end. Yeah.
Nobody's asked me what's in the mug yet. It's going to be a little bit of a reveal then, because it's not a normal thing to put in a mug. It's a little bit of Guinness right there.
Nice.
A little Guinness in the afternoon.
Perfect.
It's 4:40, pushing happy hour, I'd say. I don't know. I got very drunk 2 nights ago, and I was so hungover all of yesterday. And I couldn't tell. I also got my second vaccine this week, but earlier in the week. And so I can't tell if I, was just delayed tiredness from that or a very hungover. And so it was a little bit of a hair of the dog. But now for the second day in a row, so I guess it's just drinking. So that's what's in the mug.
Sure. I love it. I mean, I think Guinness is a nice afternoon. It's Sunday for listeners out there who are not aware of when we're recording this. It's a nice Sunday afternoon beverage.
Yeah, and I feel like Guinness is an acceptable mug drink. When you said a little unexpected, I got a little afraid of what might actually be in your mug, so...
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I think I just was, I put it in a mug, so you assume coffee or tea.
Sure.
I can't lie.
Yeah.
When posed with the question.
I mean, I would have been shocked if it was Tang, something that I really just... a child's beverage,
It's a Capri Sun I cut up and poured out.
Just Pepto-Bismol.
Oh my gosh. I'm just imagining you thinking that the pouch looks unprofessional for the Capri Sun. So
yeah.
You gotta go mug.
I have a meeting. I gotta go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Guinness seems to have been... the Irish concept of Guinness is that it is an anytime beverage. I don't know if that's worked out well for all of the people of Ireland, but that's their idea, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
they specifically want you to pour it out into something. There's a plastic widget inside that's supposed to release the foam on top.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember I think I must have been like college age when they started doing that, or like other beers started doing that, and it felt like the fanciest thing in the world that you could have a foamy tap beer out of a can or something like that.
Widget technology.
Yeah, widget technology.
Yeah.
Finally, beer widgets. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying your beverage. We like to start every show by recommending something, giving a shout out to something that we've been listening to recently. So, Pat, would you start us off?
Yeah. So, good news, everybody. The Mountain Goats have just announced another new album, so that'll be 2 within a year. And I'm going to recommend the first single off of that called Mobile. It's very nice if you like twangy guitars, moody guitars. So, check it out. I won't go into how much I love that band because you've listened to other episodes of this, but that's my recommendation.
Cool. New Mountain Goat song. I love it. I'm going to go something less cutting edge, but our friend of the show, Brady O'Callahan, started a little Discord about songs that rock. So if you're into songs that rock and you want to find out more about them, hit us up. We can share that link with you. But someone posted to that Discord a song by Andre Gibson / I think Universal Happiness Band. This was a maybe not like huge act, but back I think in the 60s. And there's this song called Thankful for You. It's got kind of like a really nice, I don't know, late 60s Stevie Wonder kind of vibe to it. And it's just like a very simple love song. And the chorus is about how thankful the person is for like the person that they're in love with. And it's just it's like a funky, very cool song, but also sweet. And so it's just kind of feel good. And so thank you. I can't remember who posted to that Discord, but thank you for that. It was a great recommendation. Alex, what have you been listening to?
I've been re-listening to It's All Coming Back to Me Now by Celine Dion because the songwriter who wrote it, Jim Steinman, recently passed away. And there were like Twitter threads and tributes to him. And I read this one that like was just very fun. Apparently, Steinman originally wrote the song for Meatloaf. And he played the song for Meatloaf and he wept and was like, I have to sing it. But then Jim Steinman was like, no, it's for a woman. And so Celine Dion sang it. It's the classic we all know and love. But apparently Meatloaf was very mad and he did record the song and it went #1 in Norway.
Whoa.
It's a very fun Twitter thread. I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
So I've just been listening to that song a lot this week.
That song's amazing. And I also learned that this week. Like I did not know that was the same writer as Meatloaf's "Bat Out of Hell," that very famous album that kind of like launched Meatloaf. And then I think if anyone's familiar with the two works, like sort of Meatloaf's like catalog, and then they listen to that song from Celine Dion, you'd be like, oh yeah, obviously this is the same guy that wrote both of these songs. Like the theatricality is so there,
Yeah.
It's
like an 8-minute song.
That is what we've talked about this before, it's like kind of bad karaoke songs. And a lot of times like a long song is a bad karaoke song, but I think this is an exception. I actually think this is an incredible karaoke song because you can get it's one that you can get the whole room like involved in, especially like after the break and it starts like thunderously coming back, there's like I don't know, it's triumphant. It sort of feels like the end of any Marvel movie when like everyone shows up and then they're gonna like beat the bad guy or whatever.
There's also this one like old UCB mod team sketch. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's with Drew Johnston and Mike Antonucci, and it's like I think it's called just Physical Therapy or something, and it's just about how like Mike like underwent physical therapy. He still can't walk. He's in a wheelchair, and then Drew's the doctor and just like taps him on the knee or something, and suddenly it's just such funny physical comedy. That song is playing, like it's all coming back to me now as Mike like walks and then like dances beautiful ballet after getting up out of this wheelchair.
Oh my gosh.
And then just falls again. But yeah, that
I love that
song always makes me think of that as well.
Oh yeah, that is incredible. I'll have to definitely look that up. Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, that's a great recommendation for truly any time. Everyone should be checking out that Celine Dion song. But what is the song, Alex, that you came today to talk to us about?
The song I came with, speaking of karaoke songs, is Teenage Dirtbag by Wheatus, which I have tried over the years to make my karaoke song. But I don't think it should be.
Wow. Why shouldn't it be your karaoke song?
I think for me personally, it's just like slightly below my comfortable range, because it's kind of like I could either take it an octave higher, and that's also out of. I guess my range is just very limited, and it's just slightly below.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I feel like when I attempt karaoke songs, my vocal range is all over the place. I just try and commit, and sometimes I'm falsetto, sometimes it's coming out like this, and I don't know why I'm singing like this, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Pat and I both understand limited vocal ranges, so we're on board with that limitation. Neither of us are Celine Dion, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah, no, but yeah, to go from like, a Celine Dion karaoke song to be like, I can't even do Wheatus.
Yeah, totally.
They're out of my range.
Totally understand. Now, I think you told me over email that this is maybe your most listened to song of all time.
It is. Do either of you use Last FM or whatever, or used to?
I used to forever. Yeah, I did for a very long time.
Yeah. I still use it, not as like, I mean, I don't know what you use it for besides, like, you can look at it and be like, oh, those are my most played songs, but my most played of all time is still Teenage Dirtbag.
Whoa.
That's incredible.
That's awesome. Is it a song that has never left the rotation?
No. I think all of my most played songs as, like, recorded by Last FM are, like, songs that I went really hard on for a while. Sorry for saying hard on. And then, and then like left alone for a while. So I'd say it's like a song that I like was obsessed with, and then came back to, but it's not like I'm always listening to it.
Sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what that initial point of obsession was? Like, do you remember when this song first came into your life? Yeah.
I want to say it was probably early improv days. Like I didn't know of it like when the song came out, I don't think. In like the classic teen shows and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I became aware of it being around the improv community.
Yeah. Now, so I actually have a pretty distinct memory of, there used to be this great show that was at one point at UCB, but before that it was just in the basement of the Triple Crown Bar in Manhattan, and it's a show called Matt and Betsy Do Music. Matt Radlow, Betsy Kenny, and usually it was like a comedy music show, so people would do their comedy bits with music throughout the show, and usually at the end of the show, Matt would just play songs on the guitar, and if you knew it, you would get up on the stage and sing along. And an absolute fan favorite, he would do it, I think every show basically, was Teenage Dirtbag. And
maybe that's where I first heard it.
Yeah, well, because you know what? It's a song that I always knew from high school, but was never, I would say, I don't think I knew the artist. Like, I knew of it, is the best way I can describe it. And I remember at one Matt and Betsy Do Music, getting up there and being like, oh yeah, I kind of know this song. I know the chorus. That was like how I was thinking about it. And I was just blown away. Like everyone in the room knew the song. It seemed like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I was just like, where was I? Like these people are all like they were all close to my age, and liked a lot of probably some of the music that I listened to. Like Pat and I have gone to music festivals with Matt. Like, it's just, and I was like, why does everyone know this song? But I don't seem to know it as well as everyone else. So there was something there that I was like, I'm missing out on this. And so then I also started listening to this song more after Matt and Betsy did music. Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, Pat, did you know the song before, like, 2013, 2012?
That's the thing. I think I didn't. Like, it feels like something that you were aware of, right? Like, the name was always sort of there. But similar to both of you, it was a song I knew. And then when it got played in front of other people, they lost their minds. They just knew the chorus. They were singing along. And I was like, okay, I missed out on this cultural moment somehow.
Yeah. That's kind of, that's how I had felt. And Alex, this may be part of why it was new to you too, is like, the song came out in 2000. So I feel like a lot of people had to be like a pretty specific age for this song to resonate. Like it was definitely made for like high schoolers in 2000, which for like Pat and I, we were entering high school, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it felt like kind of a narrow time frame. And I would guess that was like a little before you were in high school, right?
It was a little, and I don't think I started listening to like pop music or like popular music until 2003. 2004 was like a really big year where I just like came home after school and watched TRL every day.
Right.
So I'm like very like, oh, I know what happened after 2004, but before that I don't. So that definitely was before I would have, been aware of it when it came out. Also on Spotify, when you look up the song, it's the Dawson's Creek cover. So I wonder, like, is that part of like what made it popular? That it was on Dawson's Creek?
Probably part of it. I know that from the original music video, it was tied in with the movie Loser, which was a Jason Biggs vehicle, I think, post American Pie 1. Like it was, I think, trying to capitalize on his recent success. And I don't even know if that movie was definitely marketed to me, but I don't remember anyone seeing it. Like, I remember, I think like the posters more than I remember the film kind of thing.
I was spending too much time in Hot Topic to pay attention to which Jason Biggs movie was being marketed at me.
Yeah, I guess Biggs wasn't Hot Topic material at the time. He was more of a PacSun guy.
I did love all the American Pie movies.
Yeah.
How many movies do they have now? I feel like they kind of...
There's so many.
Yeah.
I think they only probably did like the first 3 or something, like American Pie 2, and American Wedding. But then there was just so many different cast spin-offs, like The Naked Mile.
Oh, right.
That's the one I remember off the top of my head.
I think just, this is purely from going back and looking at like the covers of all of those at one point or another, but I think the most consistent character was Eugene Levy's character, which is, I think, Jim's dad. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
he was like the most consistent. Oh, was he?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Stifler was in all of them, but I feel like at least some of the later ones, it'd be like, that's Stifler's little brother or his cousin or something. Like, that was how it connected.
You had to have some kind of Stifler analog, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's the American Pie cinematic universe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, so what does this song, I guess, then, mean to you these days? It's been with you for some years now, obviously, and if you kind of remember it from this improv world, I'm curious what it means to you.
Yeah. I mean, it also kind of reminds me of the vibe of like... Not that we have to talk about it more, but the American Pie movies, like that, this very specific part of my like taste that's like, I don't know. I feel like I like things that are traditionally sappy or feminine, but then there's also the part of me that just likes like teenage boy stuff. Painting in the broadest of strokes in terms of just like these categories are for these types of people or whatever. And so I think the song just kind of represents that for me. And also even just like performing for a while in improv and doing characters and stuff. I'd often play like a tomboy character or like a teenage dirtbag type character. And it felt like I didn't have to like come up with additional words. It just like, it felt like that was the spirit of it.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder, that kind of like genre, right? It's like, I don't know where that's gone. And it's probably been absorbed into a lot of like TV shows and other things, but it seemed, I don't know where it is. I don't know if you know where it is, but that is like it was really, really prominent for a little while there, right?
Yeah. And I do like the dirtbag aspect specifically. It's like you're not like evil and you're not like a delinquent, but you're a dirtbag. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I don't know, when we were in high school, how there are a million teen movies, like, and so much. I mean, even for me in high school, looking at movies as how to be a person in the real world, that's not a good one-to-one to actually have. But when you're a kid, you're like, well, this is what life should be like. So it does kind of feel nice to have like at least some sort of label to be like, okay, I think that's the track I'm on, and maybe not like
Yeah. Although it is wild. I mean, if we're gonna like then deep dive into the actual lyrics, it very famously has a lyric about bringing a gun to school.
Yeah. And it gets censored sometimes, like on radio play and, all that kind of stuff. I think
it's hard to find the uncensored one on Spotify now.
Probably. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because it's like you listen to the song and it's like, well, it's commentary, obviously, on like the type of kid who would do something this messed up. And it was released, I think, a year after Columbine, which is like, kind of the starting point of one of our most like this like horrible now 20-something year period of obvious gun violence in schools. And it just wasn't maybe as much the issue as it was now, where the last time I can think a song doing that what was that Pumped Up Kick song? I always forget the name of it. But
Fun?
Yeah, that's also about
Yeah.
Something
like that. But that was also kind of like another song that dealt with a similar, at least, lyric.
Right, better run from my bullet is that very catchy.
It's like a shame how incredibly catchy that song is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually not clear on where does it fall in terms of like, what is it? I mean, I guess same with Teenage Dirtbag. I have no idea what it's actually saying.
I think Teenage Dirtbag is meant to be sort of talking about people that are kind of genuine dirtbags and would do something that's super fucked up. Like, but
that line is about her boyfriend, not the
like
singer of the song. Yeah.
Right. But then the other song, I think that's by Foster the People. Oh. And I don't actually know what that song's about. Like, I don't actually know the point of view or anything of that.
Yeah, I used to just think it was about
diving into it.
Shoes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was about shoes until I started singing along and went, oh, this is a very dark song about shoes.
Wait, this is what Foster the People looks like? I just looked at it. I didn't expect that.
We're just discovering this. That's Oh, yeah. Okay, well.
They could look like what Wheatus looks like. I don't know what.
Yeah. So we did have a segment planned. Pat, do you want to let our next guest know that they can come on now?
Yeah. Hello.
Great. Hey, Brendan. This is Alex.
Hey.
Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Alex, this is Brendan Brown, lead singer, songwriter, and guitarist of the band Wheatus.
Oh my god! Why did you tell me just a Wheatus expert was coming on?
Well, we wanted it to be a little bit of a surprise, and he is a Wheatus expert.
Wow!
We assume.
Allegedly.
An alleged expert.
Oh my god! That's incredible.
So a little bit of the backstory here is we actually have had like the pleasure of having Brendan on the show before, to talk music and to talk about songs that he loves and to talk about Wheatus a bit. And so we were just like, when you suggested this song, Alex, I was like, oh, this will be cool. Let's get Brendan in here.
That's amazing. Wow, what a surprise.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Brendan, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So, thanks for having me on, everybody. Again. What did I miss?
Well, we were talking about how, an interesting thing is we were talking about how this is Alex's like most listened to song, at least in the digital age that we've been able to track. And, but how it didn't really, it like kind of had a resurgence around what you were saying, Alex, like 2013-ish, 2012.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So this is someone who like the song became important to, 12, 13 years after it was released, right? Which is, I don't know, how often do you find that happens, Brendan?
Yeah, well, first of all, sorry, Alex. Second of all, the resurgence was, it's funny that 2013 is the year that, like, I think it was November of 2013. I was in a club in New York City watching MC Lars and I Fight Dragons play a show. And I was in intermission and bands were switching over and I pulled my phone out of my pocket. There was like thousands of notifications and we were trending worldwide. And One Direction had just played Teenage Dirtbag like up the block at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, they did it. Wow. I have heard that cover, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess my question is that how you heard it?
I don't know. I want to say I hope not, just because in a way it feels disrespectful.
Well, so
but it was definitely around that time.
I love those guys. Yeah. I mean, we're fine with that whole thing. We love One Direction and we're friends and we have worked together a little bit here and there, but I found that time, that little period right there was where like it sort of mushroomed again, in a way that oddly presumed it had mushroomed before, because it was like, so it came out in the States and like did okay at alternative radio back in 2000, but then quickly fell off and nobody was calling us, and it blew up in Australia and it blew up in England and it blew up in Europe, but then for a long time, that was like 03, 02, 03, 04. There was no YouTube yet. There was no Apple Music yet. Independent bands, because we got off of our major label deal, and independent bands couldn't get their music on streaming sites yet, because that was like this weird, mystical, like who's doing that, kind of thing. So, yeah, and then and so there was a long period. There's a long period where nothing happened, like zero, like almost 10 years. And then you heard One Direction play it. And
Well, so something we were discussing before you joined was how, I mean, it is funny to think of a pre-YouTube world, but like who the song connected with initially, and it flew under my radar, but we were saying that, around 2012, 13, the song would come on and our friends would freak out or like sing along. It would be a karaoke song or like the song that was the party song. And so it was interesting to see like the people that had it as a touch point.
Yeah.
Who then, as they got older and as Alex was saying, started playing music shows at UCB, like it became like this, we're all part of the same generation. We have these common connections, and one of which being your song.
Yeah, it's almost like the time before internet doesn't exist, and it's like you can't get there from here, kind of thing. Like it's unimaginable, even to me. I lived through it as an adult, so it was my very obnoxious reality for some period of time, like trying to navigate early internet as an independent band. But I think that it might go as far back as to like LimeWire and Kazaa and like.
Oh right.
Oh yeah.
Like maybe.
And I wonder if, because again, Pat's kind of talking about this thing of people reaching back and sort of having this connection with the song. And I'm just trying to think of like that timing, right? This is probably a lot of friends that are around my age, Pat's age, like who were in their late 20s at that point, right? And this song is something about it. I think for a lot of people, it feels very like anthemic to their teenage years, right? If for nothing other than it has the word teenage in it. And I don't know. It's like you don't want to. I don't know. You know, I'm just like, I think something's about it is like you realize you're a fucking adult now and you have to deal with a lot of adult bullshit. And a song that you loved when you were a teenager, it just seems like now is the time to really lean on that for support, you know?
Yeah. Alex, did you say that at college that you were like, that this was the Teenage Dirtbag was something cover bands played? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think I said that specifically, but I do think, like Evan was mentioning also right before you came on, of just like, yeah, our friends would play like it as a cover. Yeah, it just was like, this was the comedy show, but they were legitimately just playing songs, and this was the one that we all loved when they started playing it.
Are we talking Canada or are we talking New York City?
New York.
Yeah. There used to be a show, Brendan, that was all musical comedy, but then at the end, the host would just play songs and invite anyone to like, you know, get into it if they were into it. And this was the song that I was saying earlier, kind of blew my mind, where everyone would just know it and everyone was shouting along to it. And it was like the fan favorite kind of like closing song of this comedy show every month. And it was kind of like magical.
Wow. Yeah, that's so strange. I get a kick out of it when people describe these environments to me that like there was a time where that information would have been really clutch because we could have like gone somewhere, you know, gone and made something of it, you know. But in the end, you know, we got really lucky because, like you said, it kind of came back into consciousness, or maybe never left. It was just like a weird touch point for people because I also think it's possible that it didn't get played out too much because it wasn't a huge hit at first. It was like maybe a song, like I had plenty of these in my life as a young person, like songs that they didn't play a lot but that you were like, oh my god, it's on, like turn it up, you know. Mm-hmm. And it was, you know, I remember sitting by the radio with like a cassette recorder, like ready to press record if they played like Erasure's A Little Respect, like, cause that was like rare, you know. It was a great song, but it was like super rare, you know. And it was one of the reasons we covered it. So, but yeah, these things are so strange to talk about now because it's like everything that has passed. Everything that happened in the past is now almost imaginary, you know, just because we're like we exist in media universes that are so contemporary, you know. So, I guess I can remember like more about what happened between 1984 and 1987 than I could ever hope to remember what happened between like 2016 and now.
Yeah. Now you did a new recording of this song last year, right? Did you do the whole album?
Yeah, we're re-recording that's the nightmare that I'm in right now. But we're re-recording the whole entire thing because the original masters were lost. So we rebuilt them. Teenage Dirtbag 2020 is our new version is out on Spotify right now, and it was we tried really hard to like get it as close as we could, but maybe a little bit more intense. And I think we did it because we triggered all of the like copyright infringement stuff from Sony came like roaring through as soon as we posted it on YouTube, like last April. So, but we got our lawyer involved for a second, and we were able to prove that it was new. So, you know, one of the things that we've been trying to tell people is that we can license it ourselves now. It belongs to us again. So. So that was one of the things that we were like, really, this is gone? Like, it doesn't exist anymore? No. So back in, I guess it was 2015, 2014, we started considering how that could be done, because you guys know, because you're musicians, but when you make a new record, there's this like driving force of finding new song space and new sounds, and like everything is like the thrill of the new stuff. But when you do something over again that you did 20 years ago, there's this like forensic nervousness that you're like, oh God, like I'm going to screw this up. I know I'm going to like people are going to say it was a dumb idea to even, so we it's a little tedious, to be frank, but in the end,
Sure.
When we're finished, I think we'll have this like 20 song version of the first record that we own ourselves. So that's exciting.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Wait, can I ask, is that a Rick and Morty sweatshirt?
It is. I'm not just because you're on. I wear this thing to bed, and like it's destroyed. Like this is my.
Oh, I love it.
Like, it's my everyday. We saw on tour last year, or 2019, I should say.
It looks so cool.
Yeah, this is my favorite. We stopped by in Georgia, in Atlanta, at the studios, and just did a little like walkthrough of the place, and there was some swag, and this was the swag that I snagged. So, and a friend of mine got me this. I don't know where.
A portal gun.
Whoa,
that's so funny. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm brand new I just joined the writing staff in February.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, that's so exciting. So, can I go fan style right now for a second? I'm just on.
Yeah.
Or is that
yeah. I was legitimately. I was like, how cool would it be if Brendan also loves Rick and Morty? I was like, what I was thinking before this.
There's like,
I didn't know if I was imagining it. I was like, it looks like it could be.
No, it definitely is. So yeah, I'm a talk. So what I would really want to know is, there are no episodes that I don't like. There are no seasons that I don't like. But there's one the one episode that I'm really like intensely obsessed with, and it's Unity, and Rick's like sort of like soulmate
the planet
relationship.
one. Yeah.
Right. And I kind of need a follow up, like pretty bad. I'm just like, I keep asking, because this show brings a lot of stuff back,
funny.
Right? There's a lot of stuff comes back,
Yeah.
but like the Unity thing, I'm just like, God damn. So any plans? Huh?
Okay, well that's good to know. I want you to know I'm one of the lowest levels of power in that room, but I do get to be in the room. I don't know, but I'll for sure, now that I know, somebody wants it back.
The seed is planted.
The seed is planted. Yeah.
It's Rick and Morty Inception.
And before we leave, Alex, you're also free to make a request of Brendan, so we could be kind of like one for one here. If you think of anything.
All right, I'll think about it. I don't know. I'm excited to hear the brand new album already with all the re-records. So I don't know what else I would request.
Well, so like I said, Teenage Dirtbag 2020 is on Spotify, and for a while there, it was the only uncensored one, because the original Sony release for Spotify was censored. Gun was removed from the second verse, but we put that back. And then Sony released their uncensored version, so like after 11 years or whatever. Yeah. So, but if we could just go back to Unity for a second, I mean, like I have a dream that is the video for Teenage Dirtbag is redone with them resolving their
my God,
like romance or whatever it is. So like, I mean, if you need it for that, it's yours.
That would be a crossover. Yeah. Oh my God. Rick and Morty does Teenage Dirtbag.
Oh my God.
I mean,
perfect.
But specifically with Unity, not just any episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I didn't mean to drag you into my fanfic universe here, but
no, I love it.
That. Yeah. So I mean, that's really exciting. Congratulations on that's fantastic. Like no matter
thank you.
What position you're in being in that room is so cool.
Thank you. It's very nice. Yeah. I mean, not to be like, okay, well now we're gonna pivot back, but I was curious about like the removing of the word gun. It sounds like it wasn't up to you guys.
Yeah, initially, so we delivered the album in April of 2000, which was the 1-year anniversary of Columbine Massacre, and it was so the heat of the news story was so profound that Sony initially kind of demanded that I re-sing it with a different lyric. And this was the first fight we got into with our major label. I've flatly refused to do it. And I think at some point I was like, if you need me to do that, then just don't put it out. And I was kind of like really like pissed off and, probably could have handled it better, frankly. But they censored it after that as a result of the refusing. So it stayed censored for a long time, But yeah, that's the story there. I mean, I didn't think it was that controversial. I just thought it was.
No, I think in fact censoring it seems like it's a worse thing.
Yeah, and then it kind of crossed my mind that like growing up in New York and listening to Hot 97, like all the good hip hop had stuff bleeped out of it, and that was always the thing. Is like right after you heard it on the radio, you just go look, go buy it and get the uncensored version.
Right.
It made you want to do it more. So I don't know. Maybe that was some sort of an upside, perhaps, but. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember going through that whole parental guidance sticker thing with my parents and like the albums that they would question. And it's like, it's truly not a big deal. It's a song lyric. And, they did the funniest one they ever gave me blowback for was getting one of the Guster albums. And because a song on it was called Bury Me. And that, I just remember they were just so concerned about what that might mean. And like, are you okay? And I was like, this song starts with bongos. And I thought that was pretty cool. And all of this like satanic panic stuff with like music. It's like, I don't care. You gave me Bat Out of Hell. If you're going to be afraid of some sort of imagery, maybe be afraid of that one.
Oh my God.
I had a really oddly similar thing with my dad with that. I was listening to Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds when I was like 12 or 13. And I was fascinated with the kick drum sound that introduces the chorus. Boo, 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 boo.
Yeah.
Lucy in the Sky. Right. So I was rewinding a CD onto that spot just because I loved the kick drum. And that was the only spot where it was isolated kick drum. And my dad comes in and he's like looming over me. Like he goes, wasn't always about drugs, LSD or whatever. It was, it was just about the music to some people, And I was like, that was not that. Damn it, Dad. No.
Well, Pat, you mentioned, right, what was it called? The Satanic Panic. Brendan, am I remembering correctly? Like, when you were writing the song, was that like in mind, sort of these kids that maybe had been into that kind of music, right? Well,
you can look this up. Rolling Stone wrote a story about the murder that happened in my town. It was the summer of 1984. 2 or 3 older boys lured their friend into the woods and they sacrificed him to the devil. And, they stabbed him to death. And it was like woods very close to my house. Like I walked in there all the time. And the whole thing came crashing down. It was like ground zero for Satanic Panic. Like, I was already walking around with a tape case full of AC/DC and Iron Maiden and whatever else. And, just starting to clumsily find my musical identity. And suddenly it was so contraband, and not just contraband, but sort of like interventionally contraband, like you're going to confiscate it and whatever, So when I started writing Teenage Dirtbag, I had that sort of like early first prototype musical identity in mind, where you're trying to find yourself as a young person, And for whatever reason, music for me was like this supremely powerful musical identity point. And I just kind of went there when I wrote Teenage Dirtbag as a setting, like what the vernacular Dirtbag was at the time was what it meant then, which was like, oh, you're one of those Satan kids, you know, killing your friends or whatnot. And I was already sort of a budding atheist at the time, so the hypocrisy, even though I couldn't verbalize it, was like, what? You know, but but try taking that stand when you're 10.
Right. Not so easy.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that kind of hits to, or at least when you're talking about like the finding yourself, or just, you know, not necessarily the satanic panic, but like just trying to understand those things that you're like, well, here's what I think, I just don't know how to describe it. I think this song, and Alex, you were saying this before, does such a good job of sort of encapsulating that age range, the stuff. Like it's a very, I mean, truthfully, my favorite lyric in the song is about the IROC. Because somebody in my town had one. I thought that was the coolest. Yep. But it is nice to have something like this to, I don't know, listen to and just be like, yeah, to some degree, there are parts of this song or maybe the whole thing that I relate to. And, you know, pre-YouTube, it's like, who knows how much I listen to the song. Post-YouTube, when we have things like Last.fm, it's great to go back and say, like, oh, this is the song I've listened to the most. And that's a really interesting thing, too, with technology, right?
Yeah, I also just really love the word choice of Dirtbag. I don't know, I just felt very drawn to it, even though I don't think I outwardly very much present as a dirtbag, but it's how I feel. And I didn't know it came from, like, oh, this idea of, like, Satan kids, but I don't know. I just liked it a lot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the endurance of the song has nothing to do with where it came from.
Right.
It's all what people see, you know, how people see themselves as the protagonist or one of the characters, or even just not even an observer, you know, like, I've often said that, like, yeah, that's a true story about where I grew up and what was going on, you know, then, but if it makes any sense to anybody in 2013, it's not because they read this article about Ricky Casso and the Knights of the Black Circle in Northport, New York in 1984. You
right,
know?
right.
It's because they see themselves going through something maybe more evolved than that in some sense. I hope, you know. I think kids have gotten a lot nicer than they were back then, to some degree. I hope, anyway. You know, I'm not one anymore, so. I can't tell, but, like my nieces and nephews seem to be like much more well adjusted than I was when I was their age. You know, like alternate lifestyles or something they don't mind talking about, and like, well, it's like, you know, all of this sort of openness is kind of cool, and I'm hoping that if the song has a place in that newness, that's really, really fantastic. And I don't know how, but that's great, you know?
Yeah. We were also talking a little bit about, you know, these formative years and like your sense of comedy and sense of humor. And we were talking about these like late 90s, mid 2000s comedies that were out. And there were a lot of these like sophomoric teenage comedies, right? And it's like, I think that's where a lot of us maybe place the Teenage Dirtbag in our own minds, are like those characters, those types of characters. And it's interesting, even now, it's like our sense of humor, our comedy has like moved beyond, you know, having sex with an apple pie, which is kind of like what we were talking about, American Pie. But it's still there somewhere, right? Like, Alex, you were kind of discussing that a little bit. It's like, yeah, there's still, you know, you're still going to hold on to, like, there's stuff that's funny, and there's stuff about that identity that you still want to hang on to, and it just becomes a part of who we are and what we think is great now, you know?
Yeah, nothing will be funnier than fucking an apple.
That is actually... That's what Eugene Levy said when he was signing his multi-movie contract for American Pie.
Well, there is something about like late 90s, early 2000s, and I don't know if it is nostalgia. I don't know if it's like this thing stuck in time that I'm like, nothing can top the things from then that I loved from then or that make me think of that time, including like Teenage Dirtbag. I'm like, I can't find a song that's better than that. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but it's like it just represents so much more than like the song itself.
For sure.
That was I was talking to our bass player about this the other day. That was a really intense turning point, 98, 99, 2000. The movies that came out, Office Space, Magnolia, American Pie, a whole bunch of other stuff that you look it up, you're like, oh my God, like that year was intense. And I think you're right. But I don't think it was like, I don't think you're wrong about there being, I think it was just that something clicked over finally, like some vestige of the old way was vanquished and something really new started to like flow. And maybe that's why that feeling is there. I think that people who lived the summer of love in the 60s might feel the same way about that time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it looking back on it, it's really interesting that it was very close to YouTube. And that's a weird thing to use a historical marker, but also like that was before you could just listen to anything anytime you wanted. That is kind of like as putting a cassette tape into your boombox to get something off of Z100. Like that was starting to sunset and like CDRs are starting to become a thing. And yeah, I think it is very interesting that this is sort of encapsulates this period of like just prior to the world like really opening up.
Oh yeah. The amount of like the way we experience media, the amount that changed, I think in those 5 to 10 years was massive, you know, compared to many other eras. So I do think there's like a lot that we culturally was starting to shift right around then. And it was cool to like, yeah, I get to get to experience it. So
how old were you all then? I mean, sorry, but I just don't know how old everybody was at that point.
Okay, which year? 2000?
Yeah. What were your ages? Yeah, like 99, 2000. How old were you guys?
14.
Yeah, 14, 15. I was primed to illegally download everything and get obsessed with whatever I found.
I was 6 and then 7. 2000.
All right, well, Brendan just collapsed off the screen.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked.
That's incredible. Yeah, no, I know. It just I'll always find it fascinating how people segue from youth to adulthood and what the time period they did that in means for that, you know? Yeah. Well, on that note, thanks guys.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. I'm going to go back to being old and,
yeah, go back to being old.
This was enlightening.
Keep making music that everyone can enjoy. I think that's your, those are your marching orders.
Too much pressure.
Brendan, how can everyone keep up to date with what's going on with Wheatus?
Well, we'll be stalking Alex, obviously, from this point forward. So, but aside from that, our Twitter account
will be mutual.
Twitter, I do the Twitter myself. We're patreon.com/Wheatus. We do a lot of stuff there. Almost every weekend we have some kind of like shenanigans that happen on the group Zoom chats and hangs. You know, we're just kind of like waiting right now for the coast to clear for touring again. There's a lot of sort of like tepid conversation about that at the moment. So we're going to find out this summer, I think, if anything actually happens. Yeah. And we're on iTunes or rather Apple Music and Spotify and whatnot. So yeah, there.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. And Alex, where can everyone keep up to date with what's going on with you?
Brendan, I just want to say it's so honored and floored to get to talk to you a little bit. I am also on Twitter and Instagram at Alex Song-Xia. The way Rick and Morty works, you might get to see an episode of mine in 2 to 3 years. So,
so start watching now. You'll be head over heels for it if you're new to it by the time Alex gets an episode.
But they have a very exciting. They have a new season coming out that I didn't work on, but season 5 comes out in June, so that's exciting for them.
Oh, very exciting!
Looking forward to it.
Peeled for June. Yeah. And then one thing we're doing with all of our episodes this season is Pat and I are donating a few bucks to a great cause. And Alex, would you like to tell us what cause we're going to be donating to this week?
Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, now I look like a poser because I picked one and I don't remember the name.
I remember the name. This is Heart of Dinner, which is a really great nonprofit based in New York City. That provides meals to elderly folks in Chinatown and beyond Chinatown, basically providing for many Asian American people here in New York City. They've been I would say a really key part of keeping Chinatown moving and keeping elders fed for the whole last year. So thank you for bringing that cause to our attention, Alex.
That sounds wonderful. We'll boost that as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think you can find out more at heartofdinner.org, I believe is the URL. And they're on social media as well. So please, everyone, please take a moment, check them out, and donate if you can. It would be most appreciated.
Yeah. And if you can't, just share their message.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. They're also doing a lot to, I think, try to stem, the wave of anti-Asian hate in this country and really try to get more information out there and get people's stories heard, as that is often a real way of, I think, helping people empathize and sympathize. So, yeah, thank you to everything that they're doing. Thank you so much to our guests, Alex, Brendan. This is so exciting.
This was great.
This is so cool.
So fun.
We're really thrilled that you were both here. And yeah. Everyone out there, if you like what you heard, please subscribe. We love you so much. And until next time, hit repeat.
Bye.
Repeater is hosted by Evan Ford Barden and Patrick Cartelli. Visit us online at repeater.show for live dates, hot music tips, and show archives. Theme music by the Sun Lions. Everything else by Love Nest Productions. Welcome to Repeater.
He's so cool. I was starstruck and also just taken aback by how kind and open he was.